Hello, reception. I hope you've had a lovely half term. I hope you had a lovely time with your families and you're all nice and refreshed. Hopefully, we'll be back to school as normal very soon. I know it's been tricky that you all miss your friends and it's tricky learning from home, but hopefully, we'll all be back together soon. Well done for carrying on with your Purple Mash tasks and your work during the half term. I've seen some fantastic work being submitted by Purple Mash. You're doing a brilliant job. Parents as well, thank you so much for sending in their work and keeping them on track with their work. You're all doing an amazing job. If there's any queries, any questions, please not hesitate to contact me, Mr. Roberts, or any member of the EYFS team. Okay, so the intent of this lesson is we're going to choose features of London, or choose a feature of London and create a visual representation of that. So choosing different medias to create a visual representation of London. Okay, so we've got some vocabulary to my turn, your turn. So we've got media. Media is what we're going to use. So if we use paints, pens, that's the different medias we use. But representation, that's how it looks. So try and make it how it looks. So we're going to make it look like a London bus or look like the London Eye. Feature. Feature is an aspect of London. London, where we live at. Landmark. And transport. So transport is how we get around. So that would be the car, the bikes, or it could be the London taxi. Okay, so Miss knows that you've been reading this book, All Aboard the London Bus in Literacy. Okay, so look at what features can we see? Just pause this video. What features can we see of London? Fantastic, well done. So we could see Big Ben. We could see the London bus. We might see the Union Jack flag. So these are all features of London, so aspects of London. Okay, if we open up the book, what can we see? What other features can we see? Oh, it's going to be tricky. So there's London, can't see quite clearly. So there we've got the London bus again. We've got the flag in the corner. There's another features. Turn the page. Oh, we've got the Queen's Guards, the soldiers. So that's another feature of London. We've got Westminster Abbey. That's another feature of London. Oh, the River Thames. So this is known as a landmark. So that's a landmark. That's a mark, a place where in London. So it's a landmark of London. And this is another, and there's Nelson's Column. Now this is Trafalgar Square. You've got the fountains, and you've got the column, really tall column. So you could choose the column. Oh, and we've got the mummies. So these are all features of London. So let's turn around. I think somewhere, Trafalgar Square. Yeah, we've got the London Eye. So that's another big landmark, London Eye. Okay, so I want you to pause this video. I think, what landmark do you want to create? What landmark would you like to create? What representation? Which one? So it could be the London Eye. It could be Nelson's Column. It could be Tower of London. It could be the Queen's Guards. It could be the London bus or the flag. What would you like to create? Just pause this video and discuss with your parents. Fantastic, well done. Now, Miss, she chose two representations. So she chose the London bus, first of all. So she created the London bus with a drawing with pens and pencils. So that's the media she used, and junk modelling. So Miss created the London bus as she drew it. Miss is not the best drawer, I have to admit. But the media, so that the resources she chose was the pens, pencils, rather. But you could create the London bus like this, or the Queen's Guard like this, but you might choose paints, or you might choose coloured card instead, or you might choose red tissue paper. I want you to choose what representation you use. I want you to choose. Okay, if you're going to do the cutting, we're going to try and do the cutting ourselves. So try to do the cutting ourselves. If there's any cutting involved, try to do the cutting ourselves. The other way, Miss made the London bus is junk modelling. So junk modelling, so we take empty boxes and then we create them. So Miss got an empty box, and again, instead of using paint, you might use paints, you might use red tissue paper. It's entirely up to you. I want you to choose. This is your project. Miss found an empty box, and she coloured it with red pens. Now the box was purple, so it didn't go entirely go exactly red as Mrs. planned. So that's the downfall of using pens. And Miss used the wheels, she used paper. Now, go and pause this video. Where else have we made junk modelling? Where else has Miss done junk modelling? It's something where she asked you to make something. Well done. Some of you may have got this correct. When we made the car, Mrs. Wills come off. When we made the car. Now, Miss didn't use a cardboard bottle. She used a plastic bottle. She used instead of a cardboard box, she used a plastic bottle. Sorry, my mistake. And the wheels were made of bottle caps, weren't they? They were bottle caps. And she used 6 to hold them together. Whereas this is made with paper and glue, and they're coming off. So they're downfalls to using each. Fantastic. And then Miss chose another one. Now, in reception, we're currently going on forest walks. Remember, we're going to look at nature, seeing the forest. And I know you've probably gone on walks in the park. Now, Miss went on walks with the park with her family, and she picked up twigs and leaves, what she could find in the forest, and they're falling apart. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to use this to make Big Ben. So she drew Big Ben first, and then she used the twigs to make a nature collage, if you like. That's what Miss likes to call it, nature collage. And you could also use this, create a representation of a landmark. It doesn't have to be Big Ben, it could be the London Eye. And instead of using twigs, maybe you could use just newspaper, a newspaper collage. But if you want to be adventurous, you could use the twigs from nature that you could find in your nature walks to make a representation of London. Okay. Now, I want you to choose, how are you going to choose it? Are you going to do it with paints? Are you going to do it with paper mache? Are you going to do it with collage? Are you going to do it with tissue paper? How are you going to create your feature of London? Pause this video to discuss with parents. Fantastic. Okay, so I want you to go off and create your own feature of London. Now, it could be used with paints, paper, it could be done with junk modelling, it could be collage, it could be anything you want. I want you to choose. It's your choice to choose the media, and I want you to submit it via MS Teams assignment. So send a picture and send MS Teams assignments. And also, to extend yourself, I want you to discuss, to write down what could have gone better, what could have gone better, and what went well. That's it. What could have gone better and what went well. And if you could do it again, what other medium would you use? So you might use paper mache and then say, well, next time I might use paint because it might be easier. So I want you to try and write that down, or you could tell me what went wrong, or you could tell me next time when I see you. But until then, I'll either see you, depending on what time you're watching this, in the pre-recorded PD or the live literacy lesson. But until then, I hope you have a nice evening, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.